Sure. District 1, Barbara McQuinn.
Here.
District 2, Chuck Shaw.
Here.
District 3, Karen Brill.
Here.
District 4, Erica Whitfield.
Here.
District 5, Frank Barbieri.
Here.
District 6, Marcia Andrews.
Here.
District 7, Deborah Robinson.
Here.
All right, so we still have all 7 board members present. The superintendent is here. The general counsel's with us, as well as the inspector general and the board clerk. We have no minutes to approve. We have no items added for good cause. We have no items that have been withdrawn by the superintendent. The board members want to pull anything from the agenda. I have nothing so far. Seeing none, we need a motion to approve the agenda. Motion by Mr. Shaw, seconded by Mrs. McQuinn. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Any disclosures or abstentions? Seeing none. Excuse me a minute. Mr. Superintendent, we have no agenda topic speakers. So, Mr. Superintendent, do you have comments you'd like to make at this time?
No, I'll defer to the board at this time.
I'm sorry. Board members, what I've worked with the superintendent on over the last few days, since Mrs. Michael has come on with us as the new inspector general, she's going to make a few comments tonight, and then I asked her, and I got the superintendent's approval to modify the agenda for the regular board meetings, which are once a month. So under superintendent and board comments, it'll say superintendent, IG, and board comments, so that Ms. Michael can make comments if she'd like at the regular board meetings. And not only does it give her the opportunity to tell us her thoughts, but it gives the community and, more importantly, our district staff the opportunity to meet Ms. Michael, since she's going to be interacting with some of them. So unless anybody has any objections, starting with the board meeting in July, Ms. Michael will be a permanent place on the agenda. In number 8, where it says superintendent board comments, she'll be added there. So Ms. Michael, at this point, would you like to make a few comments before we go to the board members for comments?
Sure. I just wanted to thank everybody and to give me this opportunity to work with you. I look forward to meeting with each of you individually and looking forward to the goals and the different processes that we can improve on. I know this are tough times, and I want to be very, very diligent about your hours. I don't want to take up any time from you, so I'll work around your schedules as best I can. But I want to thank you for this opportunity, and we'll work forward, and hopefully we will have an extremely good year, although very chaotic. But I am here for you, and if there's anything I can do to assist, please let me know.
We lost your mic, Ms. Michaels. We lost your microphone.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, we didn't catch the last part of that. Your microphone turned off, but not sure exactly what you said. I noticed one thing is it looks like your office is bare, so I guess Mr. Chu just left you back to the basics, so you're starting from scratch. So hopefully you have some resources there to refer to know the history of this district.
He has not abandoned it completely. I do have some binders here and plenty of staff with good knowledge. So there's a good history and a good team here. So I feel very lucky. No concerns here. We're going to be moving forward, and hopefully it'll be seamless transition.
Thank you. We'll go with the board member comments. We'll start with Ms. McQuinn.
Don't want to restart a discussion. I just want to clarify from our previous workshop that I in no way was suggesting that we make a decision tonight. I'm totally good with superintendent's timeline.
Thank you, Ms. McQuinn. Mr. Shaw?
No, I'm fine. Thanks.
Ms. Brill?
I wasn't going to make any comment, but all I will say is for the public who's watching this, you realize how passionate, how gut-wrenching and heart-wrenching these decisions are, and how we take everybody's situation and thoughts very seriously. So I just want to thank everybody that's reached out to us. And whatever side you are in terms of opening up, just know that we are all working together to do what's really best for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brill. Ms. Whitfield? Mrs. Andrews?
Yeah, just a quickie. I'd like to thank Sweet Dream Makers for giving 2,500 masks for the Glades region, as well as Carolyn Hamera for going out on last week to deliver cloth masks, handmade, to Belglade South Bay, and she has a batch for Pahokee. So the community is coming together to help the people. So I want to thank you all for all that you're doing during this pandemic to help one another, to help the children, and to help the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Andrews. Dr. Robinson?
All I have to say is I want one of the techie people to show me how to have it scroll across the screen. Paralysis in the analysis. That's it.
No problem. I'm sure San can make that happen for you. He seems to be able to fix every other thing we have wrong. I want to thank Ms. Brill. I share, I'm sure we all seven of us are the same. I mean, we're getting so many emails, so many phone calls, so many text messages, private messages on Facebook. I mean, it's coming from everywhere. We understand the community is totally, not in line with everything that's going on here. This is probably the first time this board's ever going to make a decision where at least the majority of the people don't support us, because doesn't seem to be any majority on this stuff. So whatever we do, the committee just needs to know we're doing the best we can based on the information that we're getting. We're certainly understanding all of your concerns, and we feel for you. Unfortunately, some of you are not going to be happy with the decision that we eventually make, but we're here to make a decision, and we're going to have to do that at some point. I also want to thank Mrs. Paul and her staff. For those of you that get a chance, you might want to go down and see the new Verde K-8. I had the opportunity to tour that last week. I mean, that school, she's assured me that the other schools that are being rebuilt throughout the district that are not just in District 5, but in other places are going to be just as spectacular. But that school is just totally amazing. It's got state-of-the-art security. It's just an amazing school. So if you get the chance, Mr. Maldeman, the principal, it's his baby and he wants to show it off. So I'm sure any of you that call him, he'd be happy to walk you through his school and point out all the great things that are in that school. But district staff has done a tremendous job of getting a school built in less than a year. And it's just amazing that school is where it is today. So with that, we can move on to the agenda. On the consent agenda, we have one item. If nobody's going to pull that item, TL1, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Ms. McQuinn, seconded by Mr. Shaw. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. We have no new business, which is very unusual. That's probably a good idea tonight. Dr. Robinson, you have two items. If you want to go ahead and do them, BD1 and BD2, go ahead and take it away.
So thank you. Actually, we've kind of touched on some of this. So the first one is the ability to operationalize all our options. So as we have discussed, it looks like we're working with three big buckets of options. We have a lot of things that have to be considered. Mr. Barbieri mentioned some of them earlier in terms of waivers and so forth. So this is just a request that the board discuss directing the superintendent and general counsel to work together to ensure that we have the procedures, policies, and waivers needed to operationalize each contingency plan, because in this next school year, if we're lucky, we will have each of them. And so we need to make sure that in the background, they're doing all the things necessary so that when the time is right, that we can move forward in the progression of school.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. I just want to say that I've been working with both Mrs. Rico and the superintendent, and next week they're going to be bringing a policy forward for us to approve an emergency policy for the board to give us the authority to make changes to a lot of the things that we don't typically do that quickly, so that we can move quickly on whatever recommendations the superintendent has made. Mr. Superintendent, I saw you, and then Mrs. Rico. Go ahead, Mr. Superintendent.
I just wanted to take an opportunity. We would not be where we are now without the general counsel's office. That team has been amazing Dr. Robinson, you bring up a great point. Like every day she has us thinking about, okay, we're going to need a policy for this. The board's going to need an emergency. So we are in lockstep. They're invited to every meeting. She's at executive council, but I just needed to say publicly because I know she's leaving us. I'm having a little apprehension about that, but we are working in lockstep to get that done.
Mrs. Rico?
First, thank you so much. That was a very nice acknowledgement. And just to clarify, the policy that's going to be brought forward on July 8th will be the implementation of members of the public to be live participating in real time that some of you have been asking for during the virtual meetings, as well as anticipating our process when we go off of the virtual due to the expiration of the executive order, which is August 1st. So that's what that policy will be for you all to consider on July 8th. Thank you. Oh, and one more. So to acknowledge Dr. Robinson's request, yes, to that point, the implementation of any plan, as you all have been discussing, will require, a myriad of policy changes and otherwise. And so we are working hand in hand, as Dr. Fenoy said, to address those as soon as we have those details. Thank you.
And board members, with respect to the live public comments, I heard all of you last week. I've been working again with the superintendent, Mrs. Rico, and Chief Kitzrow. They walked me through the plan today and how we're going to bring people in here for the 15th to be able to see you, and we'll be able to see them, and they'll be able to come into the building and speak to us. That'll start on the 15th. So they'll be available that evening that we make the decisions on how we're going to reopen the school system. They'll have the opportunity to speak to us live. So that's the policy that will be coming to us next week to set the parameters on how we do that. So other discussion on Dr. Robinson? Yep. Dr. Robinson, go ahead.
Well, no, Mrs. Andrew raised her hand. I should wait.
Okay, Mrs. Andrews?
Yeah, I mentioned this earlier, but there are the collective bargaining implications of all of this. So when we're talking about legal and the policies, there's a big piece for the collective bargaining for all of this operational piece that we're talking about. So let's not forget, that's a big piece with the Classroom Teachers Association, all of the other units that we have, the SEIU, the Staff Association, all of them. So lots of work to be done with them too.
Mrs. Rico, you have a comment? Your head is shaking up and down, but I can't.
I was agreeing with Mrs. Andrews profusely.
Okay. Good. We like it when you agree with us. Anybody else want to discuss Dr. Robinson's discussion item? Dr. Robinson, go ahead. Microphone, Dr. Robinson.
We're going to start meeting in person on July 15th?
No, we aren't going to start meeting in person. The public is going to be invited to come and address us live here in the building. So they're being set up so that they can talk to us, come up to the building and talk to us. We'll be able to see them.
Like the city of West Palm Beach is doing, which I find to be hilarious. But okay, whatever you want to do, that's just fine. I'm not going to fight about that one. I'm just going to ask that when we move forward, that we consider continuing to allow the voice messages for public comment.
Yeah, I don't think there's been any discussion. I've been talking to the board clerk regularly, like hourly some days. So I don't think there's any change in that. I mean, I believe that some of you didn't want to come back in the building yet, but so we had planned not having to come back until the beginning of August when the executive order actually doesn't allow us, unless he extends again, allow us to move on. So, I mean, if you've all changed your mind and you want us to try and work out coming back sooner, we can. I see heads shaking no. Ms. Brill, go ahead.
So I'll come back whenever everybody wants, but I completely agree with Dr. Robinson. I think we need to, the whole idea of having the live speakers is that we're as inclusive as possible. So even when we do go back, there is a very good chance that some people would still not be comfortable with coming to the boardroom. So yes, let's keep public participation as open and available as possible. Thank you.
Hear you loud and clear. I'll make sure that the board clerk understands that that's the way we're doing this. Other comments? Dr. Robinson, you want to discuss the other board item, discussion item you have there?
Yes, I will. But let me just wrap that one up by saying the reason I brought that forward is because you know how they say people say I'm hearing. Okay, I've been hearing people say that there are some holes in this process. And so I just wanted us as a board to say that our expectation is that folks will work together to work on every nook and cranny, every contingency, and everything that needs to be done, including the waivers, in order to make those things possible. That's all, just because of the hearsay. So in terms of my next item, so I think this came up earlier too about universal testing. So I've had like way too many meetings with way too many people around way too many issues about COVID-19. And so this is just a request that the board consider directing the superintendent to investigate options to have universal testing available for our staff and students whenever we do re-enter. Those options are not just the health department and the state, because I don't know that they can manage it. If they can, fine. But I just want them to explore every possibility, because I think that's one of the things from a public health viewpoint, since we're the largest employer and we have, almost 200,000 students, that we can really impact the whole testing and tracing part of public health if we make arrangements to do this.
Board members, discussion? I agree with you, Dr. Robinson. The superintendent and I talked about that yesterday on the phone, and I know that he's working on trying to get that into schools. I think it would be great. It would certainly, when we do have the children coming back in the classroom, everybody, I think, would feel more comfortable if we have testing sites available so that we could make sure that people are tested regularly and we're sure that nobody's going to get infected from our school sites. Dr. Fenoy, I see your hand go up.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. We are starting to work on that. I would just ask all the board members I only know agencies to contact that we know. So if there's other considerations, please get us that information. I have the team start working on that immediately.
And Dr. Robinson, so if you have some sources that you think can help us with that, would you please make sure the superintendent gets that information? Go ahead.
Okay, so I saw Mrs. McQuinn's hand, so I'm going to defer for a moment.
Go ahead, Mrs. McQuinn, I'm sorry.
Don't lose your thought, Dr. Robinson, because, I don't. Okay, all right, my brain doesn't always follow that as quickly, and I have to come back to the part about meeting in person. I'm going to do whatever all of you decide the majority of you want to do. However, we're having school center staff right now go into their buildings, and yet we won't come into the boardroom. I don't even want an answer.
I think one of the problems we have, Ms. McQuinn, and I agree with you, I mean, we got to set the example, obviously, but the IT people that are standing here next to me in the room have told me that we can't have until we have all the people coming back in the building, until we get that scheduled, we can't do these meetings like this, the virtual meetings with people being able to see us at home, because there'd be too many computers in this room and it won't work. So they're trying to work through that. And so hopefully by August, beginning of August, they'll have that worked out so that we can get back in here. Actually, I was in here earlier with the chief of staff, and we've counted the seats so we could put 7 board members up here and the superintendent, and we'd have enough for one space between each one of us with the plexiglass so that we could safely be in this room. And there's a way to work it out. So I promise you, we're working on that. And I agree. The sooner we get back here, the more confidence that it gives to the public that we know what we're doing, and that we're making decisions based on what's in the best interest of everyone. So we're working on that, obviously. Mrs. Rico, your hand is waving. You want to go?
No, I just wanted to also emphasize that once the board comes back to have a live meeting, it's very, very important that a policy about the public access was passed, because we have no policy about members of the public coming in and adhering to various protocols. So that was just a key component to this. And that'll, again, be coming before you next week.
Okay, now Dr. Robinson.
Thank you. So with regards to the testing, what I'm going to suggest is that just because I've had too many conversations, that I will sketch out how I think it should go. And then whoever can do it, as opposed to me saying, here's company ABC or here's company XYZ, that we state what we want done. And then people can respond to that. Entities can respond to that. Legal can make sure that we, don't break any rules. But I'm going to imagine with the large numbers of students and staff that we have, that there's no one entity that can handle all of it anyway. But I think that it starts with us defining what we want. And I'll be happy to sketch that out and give that to the superintendent.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Any other discussion? I just have one request, Mr. Superintendent. The clock in the boardroom is stuck on 11:10. Every time I look at it, which doesn't help me figure out where we're at. So if you could have somebody fix it, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, that's an easy request. Yes, we can do that. Dr. Robinson, just real quick, I have individual meetings with Dr. Mary Smith and Jay Bogus, and so with your permission, I want to invite them to one of our one-on-ones, and then that way we don't have to do another meeting.
Dr. Robinson, did you have a follow-up on that? Mr. Shaw?
I just saw an alert from that this is totally different, but it does impact what we talked about today. I just saw a report that FHSAA is making a recommendation to push back the start of fall football practices to August 10th. So Dr. Fenoy, if that's on the list, if that's indeed true, it's probably something that needs to be looked at pretty quick. Thank you.
Yeah, this is another one of those examples. We literally had this meeting yesterday.
Yeah.
We pushed it back. I mean, we met with you on Monday to talk about this. We pushed the start time back to like July 6th in conjunction with Broward and Dade. And if that's true now, yeah, thank you. Thank you for that, Mr. Shaw. Thank you so much.
Okay, so if there's nothing else, I just want to say that I know at the beginning of the meeting, we had technical difficulties, and the IT team that are standing next to me, there's 3 of them here, did a great job of trying to make sure everything worked. And in fact, they just fixed the clock. So it's been broken for a month now, and they just fixed it. All of a sudden, they got the chair out, they went up there and they fixed it. So thank you, Sam, and your team. I appreciate all the help you give us. If the board members have nothing else, we'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Ms. Brill, second by Mrs. Woodfield. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Everybody have a good evening and stay safe. Thank you.